Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and since it has been quite a while since I've made a proper Elemental Buzzsaw or Spectral Throw character, I decided it was time to get into one of those. Quite often I have been asked what's a good version of Spectral Throw to play in this current 3.0 patch. Usually I don't have the answer, so I did want to go ahead and make an Elemental Spectral Throw and see where it takes us and what is actually good right now, because from my own experience the Wasp Nest Assassin does work out fine with poison and all that, but I haven't actually explored the elemental or the physical to elemental conversion side of things in quite a long time, and while I am confident that it should work, I don't really have a build I can actually recommend because I try not to delve into other people's builds too much. So this version here is just plain elemental, triple elemental with all kinds of different just scalings from the weapon, the jewelry, heralds, and ultimately auras, while being a pathfinder and also incorporating Tempest Binding to have a pseudo 6-link while using our actual 6-link for Molten Strike. Traditionally we have been using a pure 6-link for Spectral Throw and then subbing in slower proj or faster attacks over your GMP to have a pure single target as your Spectral Throw. Now that is a bit jarring on the playstyle where you have to stop for a second, especially before bosses, and sub some stuff out, whereas this playstyle should just be a little bit smoother, meaning we have better single target because Molten Strike is superior in scaling to Spectral Throw for single target, and then also smoother just jumping into boss fights and hard rare monsters. As can be seen here, the single target is pretty good at this stage, and that is just pure Molten Strike scaling. Generally, we are trying to just scale projectile damage here and then focus mostly on the Molten Strike side of things while still getting plenty of Spectral Throw damage. And like I said, the Tempest Binding Harbinger Helmet gives us a nice 6-link without actually needing a second 6-link. So it's a free Ice Bite and Innovate, not the best sockets for our last two links, but good enough to at least give us the clear speed necessary for the build and then allow the 6-link for Molten Strike. The playstyle so far has been probably one of the smoothest I've had. At this point at level 80, low 80s or so, I've got over 5,000 life, I've got Vial Pact, I've got really good sustain on flasks, great clear and great single target, while overall pretty defensive as well. So it could end up being one of the better well-rounded characters I've played, but it may end up being just a bit more on the gear heavy side of things. Just really depends on how the tier 16 and all that damage scaling is going to go, but that's something I will explore in the next few days and report back on. For now though, I do want to show you how I built the character and what's going on. So there's still quite a bit of fine-tuning to go about this character, but I'll show you what I've got so far and what I'm currently thinking. It is a level 84 Pathfinder called Should Have Picked Raider, simply because Raider is probably going to be more damage overall by a good, I don't know, 20 or 30%, factoring in Perma Frenzies and all that. But I wanted to do Pathfinder because it is a very smooth playstyle with the uptime of flasks and the strength of some of these flasks. Even though it's going to be less damage, it'll be probably just a nicer playstyle for the character, and that's why I went with it. So also, yeah, I haven't done a Pathfinder in quite a while. So ultimately, there are a few ways to build the character, and I did end up going swords at this stage because I found a pretty good sword. I got this one, which had accuracy in place of the attack speed. Bought it for 10 chaos, annulled randomly, got the accuracy off of there, and then crafted the attack speed, so it turns into a really good sword. To get a dagger or a claw at this level costs quite a bit more, and daggers are very flavor of the month right now, since you get the easy leech and mana leech over here. Ultimately though, they are less damage than the foil counterparts. They're just easier to build around, because with foils you do need to then factor in probably these leech nodes, but at this stage I'm going to try and sustain off of just the one node, as well as some leech from its Ares Flask, maybe a Vinctars. I'll see how I go with that. But it is up to you what you do with either claws, daggers, or foils, and whether or not you dual wield or use Lycosidae. However, Lycosidae is just a very easy accuracy fix at this stage, and it means you don't need a second weapon, you just grab a shield. So at this stage, it is a pretty well-rounded character with the amount of life and damage it has, and the passive tree is somewhat complex. The ultimate passive tree, basically, this is the current tree. The ultimate one is supposed to look something like that. Probably just life and maybe some of this. It really depends on what I can fit in, because you have to go over here to grab one of the wildfires, because you are using 2 of these Molten Strike additional projectile jewels, and they need strength in their radius. So your only real options are either this, or this. Actually, no, not that. One of these 3 over here. And I just cannot possibly justify going this way, and this seems to be the answer, these 2 over here, which means I may as well grab this, but the life isn't that good when I don't need that much, so ultimately it becomes a bit awkward. Overall, I am just, still playing around with the passive tree. I don't have a final one, but this is what I've got so far. If you are claws, it then becomes a bit easier to just grab that and not absolutely need this leech at all, but I might not even need it as sword version either. But yeah, having to fit in point blank, as well as some flask nodes, the crit nodes, and just these 2 wildfire jewels gets a bit awkward. But that is where we're at so far. So I am using a foil, like I said. You want it to be as fast as possible and have crit. This one obviously not as fast as possible, but it is good enough at this stage. And then we do have 2 different 6 links. So Tempest Binding is how I'm trying to incorporate a bit of different Spectral Throw action into the build, because it gives you the level 18 Ice Bite and Innovate. So our links here are Spectral Throw, GMP, Crit Strikes, and Elemental Damage with Attacks. So that's our 4 link, and then we get an additional 2 links from the Ice Bite and the Innovate, which then also gives us Frenzy charges pretty much all of the time, and then the Innovate buff as well, which buffs our Molten Strike too, as long as you've killed something recently. You then chuck your Molten Strike 6 link into whatever you're using, so at this stage, Belly of the Beast, but I'm not sure I need all this life, so it could be a different chest. You do have to factor in the colors, so an evasion chest will be pretty goddamn hard to pull off, but definitely doable. So the Molten Strike is currently Molten Strike, Multi-Strike, Elemental Damage with Attacks, added Cold, which could be Immolate, added Lightning, or even Ellie Focus, increased Crit, and Conk Effect. Currently, increased crit is one of the weaker damage gems in the setup, but I don't have much crit, so I figure I do want to use it for now because it is a comfortable playstyle to have more comfortable crit rate. But, if I replace that with Ellie Focus, for example, it is a big damage increase, even though it might not seem that way. According to Path of Building, it is. So what you're trying to do is you have your Molten Strike originally fires 2 additional projectiles. You scale it with your Dying Sun, your Molten Strike jewels, and overall that gives you a lot more damage through your scaling, which not many builds actually, or I should say skills, have the option of doing. As well as that, you can get a Helm enchant with 3 additional bowls. So what originally is only 2 additional projectiles, you can get another 3, 2, 2, and 2 over here, meaning, it turns from like 100% damage, let's just say, to like 300% damage. It's a crazy skill, and Path of Building doesn't really show it over here. This is the magma balls for my current build setup, 410,000, but that's based off of the 2 additional projectiles and doesn't factor in the current 9 that we have over here. So it's base 1, 2 additional, so you start out with 3, and that's what this DPS is showing. You have to then factor in that you have an additional 6, which is, I guess, 200% increased damage at this point, putting us at, 1.2 million? I hope that's right. I could be wrong. I am pretty stupid. So that's what it's looking like right now. I do still have some stuff to figure out, like what kind of auras and all that I'm going to run, because I think I need to run Wrath or Anger. Drop this Blasphemy, probably keep Herald of Ice, which is currently attached to Onslaught. Maybe I'll attach it to Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark. That's something I've got to figure out in the next few levels. And then you just try and fill out Crit Multi on your neck, as well as some additional damage if you can. Elemental Damage with Attacks is great. Some Opal Rings with Elemental Damage, or just damage to attacks. And that one there too. And then your Flask Belt goes a pretty long way with reduced Flask charges, increased Flask duration. So currently my Wise Oak sits at 9 seconds, and really easy to sustain this one. And all of these Flasks are actually pretty damn sustainable. As Pathfinder, you'll be very surprised at how easily you can keep up your flasks if you've never played a Pathfinder before, and it does make for a very comfortable playstyle. I'd say for now that's probably all I need to mention. If you're looking for a Spectral Throw build, this one does seem to function pretty well as long as you have all of the niceness sort of gear together, but I can't really recommend it ultimately yet, since I do have all the right gear to make it, and I'm not sure how far it's going to go in the end game. But if you just want as the idea, Tempest Binding, the 4-link makes a pretty damn nice 6-link for Spectral Throw if you don't currently have one. So it is a nice cheap alternative, and you know, just the playstyle of having a 4-link here and a dedicated 5 or 6-link for your single target, maybe something you want to borrow in your own Spectral Throw build. I currently think it's somewhat worth it. That's all I'll say for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video and the build little rundown so far. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.